Stoyak. She's a Liberty Township Trustee.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here this evening. I first wanted to thank Matt Alspa and his church for providing us a venue for this discussion this evening, and everyone else who was involved with organizing this important discussion. For those of you who don't know me, I'm very dedicated to my position as trustee in Liberty Township. Trustees have many responsibilities, most importantly, listening, caring, and trying to solve residents' problems day to day. Last year, when I first learned of what was going on around the country with drilling at a Newton Falls meeting, I was extremely concerned about what would or could happen in my township. That meeting was the beginning of my quest, about a year ago today, for answers and educational meetings at the township. I organized 4 meetings that were well attended by residents and local and state officials. I think, Mike, you were at one of mine. Thank you. I brought many handouts with me today that specifically mention issues that affect all of us. Most disconcerting for me as a trustee is that I have no control through zoning and limited home rule to stop where and when these wells are going in. For instance, ORC 1509.02 takes away local authority for placement of wells. That's an issue because we have well water. We have a lot of residents that still have well water and that don't have existing city water lines that they can tie into. Also, in 2010, SB 165 was voted in that ODNR can regulate all permitting, location, drilling, and operation of all wells. There are a multitude of issues with having large trucks in residential areas. For instance, the weights of the trucks, mud on the streets, and pollution. Today on I-193, there's a well being put in. It's a conventional well, vertically drilled well, but it was causing mud all over the street. So I called ODOT, and they actually told me to tell our police officers, but what I did was I called the State Highway Patrol, which is in charge of Belmont Avenue, and there was a mudslide, and they needed to tell the gas company to clean it up, which hopefully it will be cleaned up when I go back. Another huge issue for us in Liberty Township is many of our residents, I mentioned, still have well water. And the other issue with this drilling is there's no differentiation at all between residential, commercial, and industrial zoning. I personally tried to get a moratorium passed in my township. When Bob talks about politics 101, we all deal with politics. My board knows how I feel about this, and I feel very strongly and passionate about this, and I am going to continue on because I feel extremely powerful right now with all of you here listening to us and understanding. I didn't get the support of my board, nor did I get the support needed at the Trumbull Township Association meeting, which I tried there. We had 26 nays to 16 ayes. Susie came to that meeting. The way townships work, we have about 300 plus townships in the state of Ohio. I'm part of the Trumbull County Township Association, and there's a Mahoning County Township Association. And you have to pass a resolution within your association, which then goes to the Ohio Township Association to further lobby state legislators on your behalf. Well, I did not get that support. In Trumbull County, there's a lot of farmland. A lot of people came up to Mark Finnemore, who's our township law director, who, after a year of listening to me, has really turned around on this issue. He actually helped me write the motion. And it really was just a motion to ask them to put a moratorium and ban on this. Some of the people came up to him afterwards and said, you know, I kind of feel like a hypocrite, that's why I didn't vote for it, because I've drilled on my property. So the thing that's so important here is that people, before they drill, know all these real issues and understand them in detail. speaking of that, I have attended 2 meetings. One, Jamie told me about in Coydsville. There was a gentleman there speaking. He didn't introduce himself with name, didn't introduce himself with credentials, just started talking. There were homeowners there, property owners that were interested in leasing their property. And I raised my hand. I said, "Excuse me, could you tell me what your name is and what your credentials are to represent all these property owners here?" And he said he was a Lordstown School Board member, and he said he was a landman for 20 to 25 years for the gas and oil industry. So I said, "Excuse me, how can you be non-biased in what you're doing for all of these property owners?" And his face started getting red, and he was definitely uncomfortable. And I think more and more it is so important for those of us who are educated on this issue to attend these meetings. Last night I went to another meeting in Boardman, at Boardman Park. I see some individuals that were there last night. When I asked Mr. Leiden about hydraulic fracturing and the toxic chemicals that are involved with drilling, he basically told me that there's no toxic chemicals. It's basically like Dawn dishwashing liquid. And I thought, what's going on here? You know, this is where I think the Attorney General really needs to get involved, and Governor Kasich. I did take the opportunity January 12th to write to Governor Kasich and Congressman Ryan and Sean O'Brien. Governor Kasich wrote me back January 19th, for your information, about the DNL issue, the injection wells. And I don't know if all of you saw this, but in the paper today there was an article in the Vindicator about the Republican House Speaker stating that they were talking to North Dakota, they were talking to other states to see and learn what these other states that have been involved with drilling, how it's affected them. Get back to my thing. I'm sorry?